In the vast silence of the galaxy, among worlds that glittered like cold diamonds, there existed a race that no one wanted. They called themselves the Eliori. Once, they had been explorers of peace, scientists of the stars, and singers of light. But the galaxy is not kind to those who are gentle. Strength rules the void, and mercy is often mistaken for weakness. The Eliori lived on a world named Seraphis. Their skies glowed violet at dawn, and their oceans shimmered like molten glass. They built cities of light that floated upon air, powered by harmonic energy drawn from sound itself. For centuries, they believed that all life deserved harmony. They built no weapons, created no armies, and trusted that reason could calm the storms of any mind. But then came the Karth Dominion, a ruthless empire of conquerors who burned planets to ash in search of dominance. When they came upon Seraphis, the Eliori offered peace. They opened their skies. They sent messages of unity. And the Dominion answered with fire. The floating cities fell. The oceans boiled. The skies that once sang now screamed with the roar of war machines. In a single week, Seraphis was broken. The Eliori scattered into the stars, fleeing in ships that were not built for war. They sent pleas to the Galactic Council, to the Trinar Confederacy, to the ancient Zon tribes. But the answer was the same from all corners of space. We cannot risk the Dominion's wrath. You must fend for yourselves. Rejected. Alone. Hunted. For decades they drifted. Ship after ship broke apart in the cold darkness. Children were born among the stars, never knowing the feel of soil beneath their feet. Their food ran thin. Their spirits dimmed. Entire fleets turned to dust. Then one day, their last ship, the Oriole, detected a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star. It was unmarked in galactic maps. A primitive world. The Eliori thought it was empty. But when they looked closer, they saw life. Billions of lives. Humans. The Eliori had heard of them before. A newly spacefaring species, fragile and impulsive. The Dominion had ignored them, seeing no value in their small technology. But for the Eliori, this world was a whisper of hope. Captain Leora, the last leader of the Eliori fleet, stood before her crew. Her silver eyes dimmed with exhaustion, her voice soft but unbroken. Seraphis is gone, she said, but our hearts are not. This world may not know us, but if it holds even a fragment of compassion, then perhaps we can live again. The Eliori entered Earth's orbit unseen. Their cloaking systems hid them from detection. They watched the planet spin, a dance of blue and white clouds, and wondered if they deserved another chance. It was night over the Nevada desert when the first Eliori craft descended. A human radar picked up an anomaly, but the signal vanished before anyone could react. The ship landed silently among the sand dunes. Captain Leora stepped out first. The air was heavy, filled with warmth and scent of dust. Her lungs burned, but it was breathable. Behind her, a small group followed, men, women, and children who had known nothing but fear for years. They walked for hours until they reached a small human settlement, silent houses, empty streets, a town sleeping beneath the stars. Leora whispered, "Do you think they will understand?" An engineer beside her replied, "We have no choice. We must try." When dawn came, the townsfolk awoke to find beings of silver blue skin and shining eyes standing in their streets. The Eliori raised their hands in peace. At first, humanity reacted as humanity always does, with fear. Soldiers were called. Scientists rushed in. Cameras flashed. Governments debated. Were they invaders or refugees? But something about the Eliori was different. They did not threaten. They did not demand. They asked only for water, food, and a place to rest. Dr. Evelyn Carter, a linguist and astronomer, was the first to communicate with them. Through gestures and sound harmonics, she learned their name, Eliori, and their tragedy. They are not conquerors, she told the United Nations weeks later. They are survivors. Humanity faced a choice. The galaxy had rejected these beings. But Earth still had the power to choose compassion. And for once, compassion won. Governments across the world agreed to shelter the Ellery under secrecy. Hidden sanctuaries were built in deserts and remote islands. Nations that had once fought over borders now worked side by side to help the refugees from the stars. The Ellery, in turn, shared what knowledge they could. They taught energy harmonics, methods of healing, and ways of understanding sound as power. Humanity learned to create new materials, cleaner energy, and music that could heal. For the first time in history, Earth became a beacon of unity. Children grew up hearing stories of the gentle visitors who glowed under moonlight. Artists painted them. Poets wrote about them. And slowly, the fear faded. But the galaxy had not forgotten. Years later, the Dominion returned not to destroy Earth, but to demand the surrender of the Ellery refugees. Their ships appeared in orbit, vast and silent, like mountains of metal. The sky burned red as their presence filled the upper atmosphere. They sent one message: deliver the Ellery, or be destroyed. The world trembled. In the halls of the United Nations, leaders argued. Some said to hand them over. Others said to fight. Captain Leora, now older and weary, stood among them. We will surrender ourselves, she said quietly. Your species should not suffer for us. But one human stood up. It was Dr. Evelyn Carter. Her voice echoed across the chamber. Earth has always been a home for those cast out, she said. If we surrender them, we surrender our own humanity. Her words reached billions through screens and radios. People filled the streets carrying signs that read, "We stand with the Ellery." Soldiers refused orders to turn them in. Farmers offered land. Engineers prepared defenses. The world had chosen. Humanity would fight. Not for power. Not for conquest. But for those whom the galaxy had rejected. When the Dominion ships entered Earth's orbit, they expected fear. Instead, they found unity. A network of satellites powered by Ellery. Harmonic energy created a shield of sound around the planet. It shimmered like auroras in the sky, humming with resonance. The Dominion fired. Their energy bolts struck the field and dispersed into harmless light. Earth answered not with weapons, but with music. From cities and mountains, from deserts and oceans, a harmonic pulse rose, a song built from Ellery frequencies and human creativity. The sound carried a message through space itself. We are not weak. We are not divided. We protect those who seek peace. The Dominion hesitated. Their scanners reported no offensive weapon strong enough to fight them. Yet their pilots felt pressure, confusion, pain in their minds, the harmony itself disrupting their technology. Within hours, their fleet began to break formation. They fled, leaving the blue planet untouched. The galaxy watched in silence. News of what happened spread through channels faster than light. A world once seen as primitive had stood against an empire and won not with power, but with unity. Other species began to take notice. Outcast races, enslaved worlds, scattered refugees, they all looked to Earth and whispered its name like a prayer. The Ellery became more than guests. They became teachers, scientists, and citizens of Earth. They helped rebuild cities, purified air and water, and introduced medicine that could repair damaged cells through sound vibrations. In return, humanity shared something the Ellery had never known: emotion unbound by logic. Laughter, the chaos of art, the wild beauty of freedom. Children of both races played under the same sun. New languages formed, a blend of English and Elleryaric, filled with melody and meaning. Music filled every corner of the world. Leora often walked among humans, watching them live. One evening she stood on a hill overlooking a human city glowing in the dusk. Beside her stood Dr. Evelyn Carter, now older too, her hair touched by silver. They called us weak, Leora said softly. And yet here we stand. Evelyn smiled. Perhaps weakness was never the problem. Perhaps strength was never about weapons at all. Leora looked up at the stars. For the first time in her life, she did not feel alone. Decades passed. Humanity ventured beyond Earth, now guided by Ellery technology and compassion. Together they built ships not for war, but for exploration. They returned to the stars that once rejected them. When they found other oppressed worlds, they did not conquer. They offered aid, food, and shelter just as Earth once had. Soon the words United Earth Coalition became known across the galaxy, a symbol of peace. A name spoken with respect. Even the Dominion began to fracture from within. Its soldiers questioning why they fought a people who only offered harmony. Captain Leora passed away aboard the Oriole, now restored and orbiting Earth as a museum of peace. At her memorial, humans and Ellery stood side by side. No one cried, for they knew she had found what she had always sought, a home among the stars. Dr. Evelyn Carter lived long enough to see the first joint human Ellery colony on Mars. Its name was Seraphis II. And there, beneath a dome of glass, children of two worlds planted the first tree, its roots in Martian soil, its leaves glowing faintly with Ellery light. They called it the Tree of Refuge. Its seeds would one day be taken to other planets. Symbols of the day when a weak alien race, rejected by the galaxy, found shelter not in power, but in humanity. Centuries later, historians would teach the story in every world that joined the coalition. They would say that the galaxy had once believed kindness was weakness. They would say that Earth proved them wrong. A recording of the old harmonic song still exists. It is played once every galactic year across the stars. Children listen to it before sleep. It reminds them that strength is not born from domination, but from unity. And somewhere in the great expanse of space, the echo of that song still travels. It passes through nebulae and dying stars, through silence and dust. A melody that says you are not alone.